That's not a problem. So you're in Munich at the moment.
Yes, I am in Munich. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
not far away from you.
yeah. Actually, I've been in only once in Munich a very long time ago. But yeah, it's a beautiful city, and I would love to visit again. Yeah, I think it's one of those cities. It's almost like a big town. You know, it
Well,
has
yeah.
that feeling. It has that feeling, that countryside feeling almost.
Yes, it really does. Yeah.
Anna, so you are from Russia originally.
Yes. Yes, I'm from Siberia, from Tomsk.
Oh, I see. Okay, I must
Yeah.
write that down. Yeah.
Yes.
Tomsk. Is it Tomsk?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct. Yes.
Um, so just tell me a little bit about your and not your career, but where music started for you. What age were you when you started?
Yeah. Well, when you read the biographies of musicians or pianists, it always starts like, well, started playing when he was or she was 5. So I guess I'm not original when I tell you that I also started playing when I was 5, and as it very often the case, it was my mom who was a pianist and who brought me to music. So, so of course it was a tradition because my sister is also a pianist, and so I guess there was no other choice for a little child as to go to the music school, and of course I was lucky that we had a really wonderful system. I mean, I should say, I mean, it is really, well, perhaps it's a little bit criticized right now because of the, I mean, you read about this Russian, or at that time it was it was in the 80s, when I was in the music school. And of course it was still Soviet, and we had discipline, but we also had the tradition because my mom's teacher was the student of Neuhaus, Heinrich Neuhaus, and then so it's really like the pianist school, being given further to the next generation.
I see. Almost like in ballet, they have these very strict, traditions. Was your mum the inspiration for you all to be musicians? Did you?
Yeah, I would say yes. My mom, definitely. Of course, also my sister, because I mean, she's 12 years older, so she was always, practice at home, and I would listen to all the etudes, and everything that the repertoire that she was playing, and my teacher, because I was really lucky to have a teacher who was very, how should I say, she had really passion for music,
Oh, I see.
So she could really transfer, this fire, that you need to be able to practice. So it was really, well, my luck, of course, but it was also my mom who knew her and who could, of course, organize the best education possible
for you. So when did it kick in, or when did you realize that this is what you want to do?
Well, it's really it's a strange question for me, because well, it's not a strange question. Perhaps I will give you a strange answer. Let's put it this way.
Yeah.
Because when I finished with my studies, I stopped. Because it was that. Yes. I mean, I'm not really kind of this traditional person, in a way that I played music or all my life. No, I didn't. And in fact, when I finished my university studies, I stopped completely, like really, I closed the lid of the piano.
What was the
For what
reason?
reason? Yes. Well, I mean, perhaps you can even compare it a little bit to the pandemic situation that we have right now, because at that time, and I'm speaking about, at that time I was still in Russia, although I had two scholarships, and I had 1 year in Oklahoma and 1 year in Frankfurt. So, for exchange student programs, but it's only, two terms or 2 semesters. So I was back in Russia, and at that time, all the time when I was playing music, like all our concert halls were like really empty,
Really?
yeah, at that time,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah. So, when my sister, for example, played, and I would go to her concerts, and it was also when I was still at school, I would always see like there's no interest whatsoever in the cultural, life. So, and of
Yeah.
course, I mean, put it this way, Tomsk is not really the musical city. I mean, it's
Okay.
more like it's very university city, but it's more for research. It's
Okay.
more for science.
Sciences and yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm.
So, for example, my sister, she moved to Krasnoyarsk. It was a kind of a bigger city, and so we really, for example, we don't have opera house. I mean, now, of course, they have the Philharmonie and the orchestra. So in the last, let's say 20 years, or no, not 20 years, of course, 10 years, the concerts halls also started being filled, so it changed. But
But what do
at that
you think?
time,
What do you think was the reason that I mean, it was a city
yeah,
of science, but what was the what brought the change that now that the concert halls
yeah.
are filled?
Yeah, at that time, it was a really political and economic transformation, and this is really like this. And I mean, again, it's we are back to the situation right now when the people are concerned with the personal security, with income, with future. I mean, I understand completely, like seriously, that you don't really want to go to Brahms symphony or the piano
Yeah,
concerto,
yeah,
like, and I mean, of course, it's also about money, because I mean, even if you pay a little bit, but sometimes you don't even want to give 10 euro, or or equivalent of this to go to the concert. So I think the society wants, or people, like this broad audience, they need really enough income and security, and then they feel it's like Maslow pyramid,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then when everything is stable, then you think, oh, what should I do? Okay, well, how about that? Oh, music, oh, good
yeah.
idea.
But do you think also it has to do with the education, with the children? We start there, and we
Mhm.
start educating the children in music, that
Yeah.
it changes the audiences then also.
Yeah, this is really interesting question, because I know that people would say yes, but imagine like in Russia, for example, and especially in the Soviet Union, one of the good things of Soviet Union was that everybody got the music education,
Okay.
and all the factories and all the, they had this public clubs, where they will really play opera, and the Bolshoi theater will go. So people had this awareness of culture and the music, but for some reason it didn't really, it wasn't enough,
Okay.
So when the transformation comes, then first, then
Yeah.
I would say, but surely I do agree with you, of
With the
course. I mean,
education.
when
Yeah.
people don't listen to classical music, it's nearly impossible to bring them, because I mean, I know it now, like many years later, when I work, for example, when I do my creativity breaks in companies, like the businesses, and when I come and I say, well, I play the music for you, when they don't have exposure at home, or it's for them like, oh my God,
Yeah.
what
What
is
are
she
you? Yeah.
doing?
Yeah.
So
Makes
yes,
sense.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you had this break now, so after your studies, so you had the break, and then
Yes, yes.
so
And then,
what made you continue then?
yeah, well, it was really interesting because I experienced it myself. I was working as as everybody else in the office and doing my job, but there was something missing. It's perhaps you can understand there was. I mean, of course, I could do the job, and I mean, I could still do it.
Yeah.
Perhaps will be the best I could do right now, but there was this necessity, So
Mm.
there was always something missing, and I was like seriously unhappy. I was like
Mm.
really unhappy and felt low, and then especially when you're like in the end of 20s, I think it's typical that people have the first crisis or something, or
Yes.
whatever you call it,
Yeah.
So I was also 28 or 29, and I really kind of asked myself, what do I want to do? And I just said to myself, well, I really want to do the things where I feel like this is my work. And I thought the people who do the job they love, they are the happiest in the whole world. And
Exactly.
now I know it because it's
Yeah.
it's really true. It's
Mm.
true. And when you do what you really love, and so there's like no obstacles, it's like
Yeah.
even Corona is no problem, because I mean, this is like,
When
wow, this
you,
is you, and this is
yeah.
your work. Yes.
I I
So
used to I used to explain it to my children this way. I said that if uh, you do not do what you love, you are really like somebody with an amputated leg. You can
yes,
fill it with you can substitute it with a prosthetic leg, but you will always
mhm,
know there is this one part of you missing. And you can carry
yes,
on and you can do all the work, but you always know that this leg is not there. And that's why I
yes,
always
yes.
believe that it's very important that you do what you love, and and how you can express yourself the best.
Yeah, yeah,
So
absolutely. Yes.
yeah, so in this time where you didn't perform and you didn't play or did you still play the piano but just for yourself, or
Well, no, not at all. Like I stopped completely, so I didn't really touch the piano, and I didn't want even to see it. But
really?
yeah, I mean, it's really, I mean, this is something that I cannot explain to myself.
Mm,
I mean, I can only kind of say that I really had a kind of a. It's really interesting why I actually stopped. It has to do with this really. You know, like they told us at school, and I
mm,
mean they still tell us, and everybody will tell me that
mm,
when you really want to play well, you
mm,
have to practice,
mm,
and from my experience, or for my personal talent or my abilities, if I really want to play big things, I need to practice, like, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 hours per day, like
mm,
seriously, because if I want to play piano concerto and by memory, I mean, I really need to play. I mean, it wouldn't suffice to play, to practice only 2 hours,
yeah.
So it's like, it's all you do.
Mm,
And, but it's like every day you practice, 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 even if you love what you're doing,
mm,
you practice. And it's like, it has something repetitive in a way.
mm,
Even if the music is different. So, sometimes it's difficult to, I mean, of course, first you need to reach the level, and then
yeah.
now I'm old enough, to say, okay, sometimes I would say, well, I don't really have to play it by heart. So, I mean,
Mm,
there are always kind
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
ways of, or I say, well, I play something not that difficult, I mean, there are
Mm,
so many ways. But when you're a little girl, or when you're a young person, you have this absolute, you have to
mm,
play as if you play in Carnegie Hall, and
yeah.
if you don't get to Carnegie Hall, you fail. So,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you
So that
practice and you.
pressure, the pressure you
Yes,
had on you,
yes,
yeah.
absolutely. Yes.
Mm,
Pressure. And then on the other hand, perhaps I am kind of a very I really need to see the results, because it's one thing to play for yourself, and I mean, of course, you can always do that, but it's the other thing to see the feedback. And this is still, for example, very, very important for me personally, because if you do music as profession, you do it for others, I mean, you want to bring the joy to them,
Yes. That
and if
I
you
that
speak.
that I understood in the time that I photographed the artists,
Yes,
that I understood that it's the gift, the
it's the
giving,
gift. Yes,
and it's almost as if just the applause, just a few minutes of applause is enough for that the showing of gratitude, and
yes.
and how it's received what you're doing. So I can understand it now much better than I used to, because of the fact that I've spoken to the artists.
Yeah. I mean, this is it's exactly, yeah. It's something. It's like, it's the energy that you're giving, because I mean,
Yeah,
it's all about energy. And
exactly. Yeah.
imagine you are giving energy, but you're not getting something back. I find it very dangerous, because and that's why many, and I mean, like, artists are all very sensitive, they're fragile, and they're always kind of doubting and searching, because I mean, for me, if you're not this kind of person, maybe
Yeah.
you're narcissistic, okay, perfect, but to be a real artist, I mean, there's always something, something doubting, something wanting to be better, like really exploring. So this is this type of personality.
Yeah.
And this is dangerous type of personality, because all creative people, they really need to get also something a little bit back,
Yes. Yeah.
just a little bit. I mean, I'm not saying
No, I
but
understand completely what you're saying. Yeah. And so it's that. Just a second. I just see, because I sometimes get a bad signal, and I want to see if maybe I have to put something off on my. Can you still see me? Am I here? Right.
yes, I think it's my internet connection. It's not always stable for some reason, and I don't know, perhaps
There
this
we
is the
are.
reason.
Okay. Now I'm
Yeah.
putting Facebook off.
Okay.
And then, yeah, I read somewhere if you put
Okay.
Facebook off, then, or yeah, all your other browsers, then it's better. But yes,
Okay.
now we can carry on. So tell me, so
Yeah.
you started again, and
Yes.
that was at the age of about 30, 28,
Yeah,
30.
yeah,
Yeah,
something like
yeah,
this.
yeah,
Yeah, because it was really like step by step.
yeah,
I didn't restart overnight, because
yeah, yeah.
I was really like attempting, and I was doing it couple of hours, and then of course I couldn't work that much, so I reduced my
Yeah.
working hours till the moment where I stopped working. I mean, like, doing the office job completely, and I was doing only music.
And
But
where were
it
you?
took.
Yeah, where were you at that time when you started doing the music again? Were you still in Siberia?
No. I came to Munich right after my graduation. So
Okay.
it was at the beginning of my 20s, because we graduate with 21, and with this exchange programs, it was 22, 23.
Okay.
So that's when I
The
came
time.
to Munich. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, okay, tell me more when you started again, yes.
Yes.
It's
And
so
I mean, I was.
interesting. Yes.
Well, yeah, it's I mean, of course, I was lucky that I was in Munich, and in Germany you have really wonderful infrastructure, and there is also tradition, of being a freelancer and doing music, something really valuable, and something that I could build upon. And so I was first I was working with the singers and kind of accompanying them and rehearsing with them. Then I started doing salons, and I call them the Munich classic salons. They were kind of a mixture of theater performance, some literature, and music. So I would do the kind of the productions together with some theater people. Then I was basically searching for ways of expressing myself. So I started doing little videos, but the first videos were kind of little films about popular music pieces. They were really experiment. I mean, I don't know if you saw them. I can send you one. It's
Okay, no, I would love to see them. Yes.
yeah, I mean, it's really
Yeah.
experiment. It got many negative comments because they were a little bit crazy, but I needed that at that time. So,
but we have to start somewhere.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, and they didn't really get enough dynamics, but they were. But I was meeting through Facebook so many interesting people who were really supporting me and encouraging me. And I met composer Peter Lachert, who is from Poland, but he lived in Italy, and he inspired me to start exploring the modern piano music, the music that the composers of today are writing.
Yeah.
And it was really like step by step. I got into the situation where I have my own web page, Moving Classics, where I present and promote composers of today. So every week there is
wonderful.
Composer of the Week, and so now I reached a situation where, like, every day I'm getting many submissions, and I mean, for the moment it's still one composer, one video, but hopefully it will. I need to find
wonderful.
the way. Yeah, I mean, this is like my baby,
Yeah, but of course for the composers it's wonderful because that's like a place where they can, or a stepping stone, or where they can be heard, or send their work
absolutely.
to. That's amazing.
This is the idea, because I feel that, for example, in the literature, you have the situation where, like, the books that are written today, they are more popular than, let's say, of course, the classics are always there, like the Dickens and Tolstoy, but, we are speaking about the literature that's written today, and this is like part of our life, and it's so exciting. Yes. But for example, if I ask you, who is your favorite modern piano composer, I mean, you will really have to think, right? I mean, it's difficult because there's not like one person like Chopin. Oh, yes, of course. But I mean, of course, there is Chopin, and there's nothing against it. But, who is really the composer of our times? Who is really the, so we need to spread the word,
Yeah, but this was also interesting for me when I took the pictures of the artists, how many composers I met and how many young composers I met.
Yes.
And it was very interesting for me because I didn't realize, I mean, the music industry for me was also an industry that I didn't know much about. And of course, through photographing these musicians and talking to them, it opened up such a wonderful world, and of course, interesting people, and yes, so the composers I met as well, and but interesting that the composers, many told me that this was actually a good time for them because it was quiet, and there was no pressure on them, and they had time, and they could compose. So is this also something that you've noticed from the composers?
Yes, I would say yes, because I talk to composers every day. It's like the character of people. So I would say 50%, yes, they feel really that their creativity is released because they have time and they work. The other half is very demotivated because many people need really like the order, you know.
Oh, I see. Yes.
They need really the goal. So so these people they are a little bit suffering, you know, because they perhaps they work differently. That's why I mean, of course, I know that when I say to them, yes, I chose you for the presentation, I always notice, wow, I mean, like for some of them it's really like, oh, now I feel really I can work, you know. So that's why some people really need goals. They need really, you know, concerts. They need to know, okay. So, but I mean, surely it's really it has definitely positive sides. I mean, no question about that. Definitely.
So you have contact with composers. Do you think that we will have some influence from this time on the composers, that they will be definitely music that we would say, well, this music was composed either during or after this lockdown period? Do you think that will influence the music in a way?
I really love your question because this is a really good question. Yes. I think so. Yeah. You know, the composers, they are very receptive to the stimuli, and I think they really need this stimuli for the creation, because the music is born out of their feelings. They really need to, you know, transform it into the sounds, because otherwise it's the artificial intelligence that's writing. So you know. I already hear some influence. Yeah,
because I'm not
I can
thinking.
feel
I'm
it,
not
yes.
thinking that it would be music specially written on this theme, but I just think that people go through stages during this lockdown that's sometimes more depressing and sometimes joyous, and you know that there might be this feel to the music that we hear afterwards.
Yeah. I also noticed, I think I interrupted you, but
that's fine.
I noticed that some are experimenting because they don't really have the deadlines, and so they can take more time and do really things they like in the first first way of doing something. So that could also be positive effect.
But don't you think also many other musicians do this now at the moment, where they have time to practice or to play repertoire that they normally don't have time for or normally can't? That everybody has this sense of freedom in a way, although we are locked up or locked, you know, that it's locked down, but that there's this kind of freedom in time, and also the freedom of what we do, so that they get a chance to play more what they like, for example.
Yeah, this is really a good question, because I can explain what's happening to me.
Yes, please.
Because I mean, this is it's easier for me. It's you know, I have different stages, you know, because it's it's already the second, let's say it's nearly the second year, right? Or is it the second year? Because the first lockdown, you know, when it happened in March, last year, I mean, of course, the first thing was the reaction, like all the concerts, and I had like really wonderful one, for example, Beethoven piano Concerto number 4, and it was cancelled, you know, and I worked like half a year on it, you know. So that was like this feeling, oh no, because usually I'm the kind of person, even if I'm sick, I go and play the concerts. But this is like my perhaps also not good, but that's how I do. So for me, the canceled concert is something like, oh, how can it be?
Yeah.
And then, of course, you accept it, but it takes time because you really kind of feel a little bit frustrated. Yeah, but okay, you kind of think, oh, okay, I don't travel anywhere. I'm at home. Not bad.
Yeah.
What can I do? I don't have deadline. Well, sure, I play something different. And I was, believe it or not, I was even enjoying this time. So this 2 months till June or something, I think June, mid of June, I was really, I felt this creative freedom, which you were talking about. So I even started doing my finger exercises because I really have to do that, and learning new repertoire and wonderful. And then I would say up to October, we had more or less in Munich concerts.
Oh, yeah.
But then already in autumn, I started noticing an interesting thing because we had a kind of different let's say different levels of musicians, because there were musicians who were playing the concerts and especially the big halls. I mean, they could play with the, let's say, I don't know, let's say 50 listeners, but
Yeah.
the audiences, the locations where I would play, they are really small ones, so they immediately all cancelled the concerts because I mean,
Oh, really?
yeah. So I'm like, for the big ones,
Mm.
it would still make sense, because if it's like Hercules Saal and you have
Yeah.
2,000, let's say 500, I mean, of course, it's they were still, I think, losing money, but they got more or less, this support from the state. But the small event centers, of course, I mean, they canceled the concerts immediately, because if it's location for 100 people, I mean, you cannot
Yeah.
play for 20.
Yeah.
So I already kind of noticed, oh, okay. So the only things that were working were the things that were organized by the Stadt München, by the state and city of München. So it was kind of already okay. What do we do? Yeah, so I wouldn't organize anything myself, and then it came to an end anyway. So like
Yeah.
from the beginning of November, and it's also like a circle, because all my singers would not book me. I wouldn't get new. So it's like, seriously,
Yeah.
at the moment there's like literally nothing. And this is already where I feel a little bit not motivated. I mean, of course, my mind says yes, and I mean, I will like today. I will start playing, and of course, there are like pieces that I absolutely love, and I mean, this business I work on. But for example, I should really start working on a new program, for example, that I will be sending to people, but I need to sell it because I'm freelancer. So I don't know. I'm just thinking like, well, what should I do? Like,
Yeah.
so, this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And who will need it, and when, especially, when is perhaps it's the good time to start applying, but I don't know.
I
Like,
think but I think it's this thing that we think everybody's feeling this way now, or everybody's not motivated.
yeah.
That we feel the same. That you think, well, who's going to do it, or who's going to be interested? And I think everybody feels this way. It's almost as if we've gone through this a constant situation where there's hope, and then just as we come to that time where we think now everything is going to be fine, then there comes another setback, and then another cancellation, and then another time to postpone, and
That's
I
true.
think that is almost as if our minds cannot deal with that anymore.
That's true.
That
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
And then, yeah.
no, you carry on,
No,
please.
I'm really curious what will be afterwards, because this is something that I'm really interested
Well,
in,
this
because
is
I mean,
before we get there, I want to ask you now,
yeah.
is there something you did during lockdown that's something that you've always wanted to do, or a hobby, or
Yes.
baking, or cooking,
Yes.
or making something, because that's also interesting for me to hear that
Yes.
artists tend to not, that they don't just wait, they start doing other things as well, and some started painting, or some, as I say, some baked bread and things like that. So did you have a hobby
Well,
that you
yes, you
did?
wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Yes, this is true.
Yeah.
Because, for example, one thing that I really started doing, and I never thought I would ever be interested. I started cooking, like
Oh,
seriously.
really? Yeah.
Yes, yes, and I
Yeah.
cook with a recipe, and this is so interesting. I mean,
Mm.
that was
And
for
you never
me
cooked
completely.
before?
Well, I cooked the simple things. I mean, I
Yeah.
always cooked,
Yeah.
but I was
Yeah.
like, for me, like 10 minutes cooking,
Oh,
that's
okay.
already
Okay.
like
So,
seriously, I could do the bratwurst,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
or the Lebkäse, yeah,
So,
that's already
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
wow.
So what would be a lovely recipe that you were cooking, or what is
Yeah.
something interesting that you started cooking?
Well, I tried really, well, I prefer vegetable
Yeah,
combinations
yeah,
because
yeah,
I find it's also healthier. Like,
yeah.
for example, today I had risotto with different herbs
Yeah.
and rucola salad and
Yeah.
beets
Oh,
and
that sounds lovely.
I mean, it
Yeah,
was really, I mean, this is
yeah.
not very difficult, but the combination of the
Mm.
I think the dressing is
Yeah.
important, and this is
Mm.
something I really had to learn because I
Mm.
learned to be very precise and to really follow the directions of the
Mm.
recipe, something
Okay.
that I,
That
I never
you
did
never did.
before. Yeah, because it's like music. You have to be very
Yeah,
precise,
yeah.
with the cooking,
Well, cooking
exactly
is
the
an
same.
art, I think, in itself, and I was thinking that, the baking and the cooking,
Yeah,
that's also a way of expression, of a creation,
it
and
is. Yes,
creating
yeah.
something, and then it's also a way of expressing. So it's
Yeah, and
interesting
the
that,
aesthetic also, the way
yeah.
it looks. For example, that was something that I really perhaps least cared about.
Mm,
But now, for example, when I put it in the plate, I really
mm,
want to make sure that looks like like the
yeah.
photo of the
Oh, I
recipe.
see. I see.
Yeah, and I do the photo myself.
Oh, okay.
I
Oh,
mean,
that's
it's completely
wonderful.
crazy, but
No, that's not
but I
crazy.
really
That's
like it.
wonderful. Yeah. And it's
It
it's
gives me
something,
energy.
yeah, exactly. Um, I want to ask you something that I'm thinking about a lot, and that is, that we spoke about earlier, and that is the education.
Yes.
Do you think that now, in this time, that we should rethink, for example, what we do in schools, that we do not just focus on the main subjects like maths and science, um, and biology, which also falls under sciences, but that we also now say that that it should be compulsory to do music or art,
Mm,
and that art, and even if it's dance, I say, even if it's dance, it's as important, but music, dance, and art, um, that it is compulsory, and that it's also examinated, and not just subjects that children do once a week for an hour, or just
mm,
for relaxing, so that
yeah,
we
yeah.
so that we teach children this discipline also, because of this is what I've learned from artists, from the
Hmm.
time, from everybody that I photographed, and the thought process that I had, is that artists are actually so equipped to deal with these times,
Hmm.
because you, in during your career, and you can vouch for that as well, because you've stopped and you've started
Yes,
again,
yes.
but it's
Mm.
this, uh, overcoming of disappointment. It is this perseverance. It is this working, practicing, playing the pieces that you did not necessarily want to play, but you have to play it
Yes.
because you have to do the exam.
Yes.
And during this time and during this say journey of journey is such a cliche, but this journey that you go through to become this artist, there are all these things that you have to deal with, and it's actually so such wonderful qualities to have. And if we could have children experience that, then they would anything, they don't have to become musicians, but these skills would have them equipped to deal with other things in life and to go on to do other careers, and also there use these skills that they've learned by playing the instruments or by learning to dance or creating art. So that is my thought process, that we should rethink the school system also now.
This is really deep question, and I'm really happy you asked it, because I'm also thinking about this. So I can say, perhaps I can add some thoughts to what you just said. My observation is really interesting, that I have friends who have children, and I unfortunately I didn't start teaching piano, so I have very few students right now. So I cannot say that I am really expert in teaching piano. So unfortunately, perhaps I should have done, but I worked more with this with the singers. So I'm not really versed into teaching, but I work more with adults, and try to as a creativity coach. This is so it's interesting phenomenon right now that again the children stop taking music lessons, because they feel now so overwhelmed with this distant learning, so that they their parents say, oh, okay, let's let them do maths and English, perhaps that's good for career, and let's leave all the rest. So, I mean that the music and the art, the dancing, important for the upbringing. This is beyond any question. I mean, like from my personal point of view, I was really lucky that I had them all. During the school process and in this teaching, I find that the figure of the teacher is decisive, because, for example, for me personally, when I had arts class, I mean, for me, that was like the disaster, and I mean, like, seriously, I love arts, but our teacher was, I don't know, I mean, I had to draw, I don't know what, and it was never good, and, so totally different to my, of course, to the piano class, for example, right? So it's always like, how do you express to children? Because I think the most important thing too is to transmit the love and the fascination. Because it's difficult to teach art, because I mean, of course, the is exactly the question. When you for example, when you teach me how to do photographs, I don't know, and if you start telling me, Anna, look at the light, that I actually don't have, I would say, oh, okay, light and the camera, and oh God, and the same with the piano playing, it's always like, okay, 5, 5, 3, 2, and repeat every day, so how to say, no, it's not about light and the camera, it's about, I don't know, if
I understand what you mean.
So I think this is like how to build the personalities of our teachers and
Yes.
schools, you know, to
Yeah.
begin with,
To make
so
it.
that they transfer this the love and fascination.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Which is really
that's definitely, yeah.
huge task.
Yeah. But I think
Right.
it's important that we by the way, this is Lily.
Oh no, I love animals. Oh, she's so
she's
lovely. Oh
she's lying on
wow.
my lap at the moment.
Oh.
No, but that's what I'm thinking, you know, that we should really try and think about that. Just how can we do it? And even if we plant the seeds now and talk about that and think about that, because I think I'm always thinking there are solutions for everything, and if we start talking about the possibilities of solutions, then of course we create more solutions. If we
Yes.
start thinking of the problems, then of course
Yes.
we just think about the problems.
Yes.
But
We
the
create new
passion,
ones.
yeah. But the
Yeah.
passion, totally, you know, I agree with you that this
Passion, yes,
it
passion.
is
That's
you know it can kill the art for a child if the teacher is
yeah.
not passionate, or if there's preconceived ideas that it's like you say, you know, you don't have to have it perfect, you don't have to uh, for children to just experience it. It's about the experience. If you don't want to become an artist or a musician, then of course you don't have to play the piano like
Horowitz.
yeah. But yeah, so this is definitely what I'm thinking about, that because we have to have new audiences. We have to have people who value art for the future, you know.
Yes,
And
that's
not just value art, value the artist, you know, because if you understand what the artists go through and what the artist has to do, then of
yes.
course, you know, and I think we live in a society now where children think that when you're 18 you decide to become that you're not traveling so much? Do you miss it?
A little bit, yes, yes. You
Mm.
know, I mean, I would say, I mean, of course, it's it's perhaps nothing new, but the balance is always the
Yeah,
best thing. So it's
yeah,
like to travel a little bit, you know,
yeah,
like not to be stressed, but still to play good concerts, be well prepared, and still have enough time for new
yeah.
recipes, you know,
Oh
because
yeah,
now I need
for
to keep
cooking.
all the hobbies, you know, so I don't know how to do that.
Now you're a busy girl. Yeah. But do you
Yeah,
think the
so
audiences will be really hungry for live performances, and that they
well,
would really come to concerts and
yeah, I was afraid you will ask me this question, and I have even
oh really?
prepared the answer.
Oh, okay.
Well, no,
Yeah.
not really, because in Russia it's a little bit different situation. Without going to the details, I mean, they don't really do the lockdown now. It's all free. And so basically they resumed the concert live 100%. And they have like 2 weeks of experience right now. And they said that surely the music freaks, they are back as they were, because, I mean, of course, they are really the people who have subscriptions.
Yeah.
What's missing is the broad audience. So that's why for them, that's what I read. It's written by one of the main critic or journalist. He said that we need, they need more more. Let's say not very like narrow topics, but more interesting things for the broad audience.
Oh,
So,
I
for example,
see.
like the galas, or when many artists are participating, something
I
really
see.
more entertaining,
Yeah.
put it
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
So this is what they are doing, because they really need to attract like people, because they make
Audiences.
they fill the big holes. But I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I read. Will the people be hungry? I mean, of course, people who never went to concerts,
Yeah, they
I don't
won't.
think
Yeah.
they won't go.
But do you
I mean,
think that now that, because a lot of artists do things online informally, not talking about streaming concerts, but say, for instance, there's this concert pianist, Simon Mulligan, in New York, and he plays little soiree concerts every night.
yes,
And
yes.
many artists do these informal things, and so do you think that maybe now people are more aware, now that the artists are doing it online, so that they may be more aware of artists than in the past?
Yeah, I mean, I really understand why artists are doing it. And I would also say it's very, very wise to do it, because, people forget so easily. And I mean, and this is true, that the market is oversaturated by like really good people. And I mean,
Yeah.
like for me personally, in Munich, for example, I could go like sometimes it was 3 concerts on the same day where I couldn't decide where to go. And
Really?
imagine, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, like seriously. And you
Mm.
have like people
Yeah.
like Martha Argerich and Barenboim, and I mean, you name it. I mean, like really, really good ones. And I mean, these people also need their audience.
Yeah.
And then when you have really such a huge choice of different names, I mean, of course, we're speaking about cities like Wien or Munich or New York. I mean, surely in the little places, but somehow it's also like in Munich, there are more people going to the
Oh,
concerts,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So in comparison, for example, to little Bavarian
Yeah.
villages where you just perhaps do one piano evening per year,
Yeah.
because I mean, they say you really need to do something different,
Yeah.
So, so will be more people going? I don't think so. And I mean, to your question, people, the artists need to be online, yes, because they need to continue nurturing their followership. This is really very important, yes, because I think by the end of the day, it's the personality of the artist
Yeah.
that counts. And if I follow somebody, I always take the artist as a person. So I always, it's not just music, because, music is, there's really, really very much good music, but there is more about it. And for me, that's why I find it so important that artists also talk about their things. They talk about their motto and their philosophy, and then it differentiates it a little bit, and also makes a clear vision of their art. And that's why I always say I watch all these informal concerts and try to, I mean, when I have time, surely I do, but it's so interesting. And
Yeah,
that's where I see the real creativity, you know, because it's all authentic. It's not really like 100% prepared, as you see,
exactly.
you know, Hélène Grimaud playing the same
Yeah,
program 2 years. I mean, of course, you have to be like
yeah,
this, but it's for me, this is the real music, you know.
yeah. But
So
this is what
very interesting.
when I photographed some of the artists, I asked them to play something through the window. I made these
Oh,
a few little videos, yeah.
oh, that's, yeah,
And I
I
really
saw that.
wanted,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I really encouraged them, especially the young musicians, because I think it's so wonderful that it's not perfect. For me, I mean, for me, it always sounded perfect. They always wanted to watch the video clip and just see if it was good enough. But I almost think that it's also good when it's not 100%, you know, when it's just
Yeah.
played,
Mm-hmm.
when it's just music and it's
Mm-hmm.
in that atmosphere that it's played through the window. That was for me always very special, and the ones
I
that
can
did it, you know,
imagine.
very, very special. And I agree with you totally that I think, and also now that I've met many musicians and many artists, that
Mm-hmm.
I feel myself very privileged that I had this opportunity, because I think uh, maybe it's a good thing that we see also the person behind the music. Uh, you know, that it's not just the uh, concert dress on the
Yes,
stage
yes. And
and
the makeup.
and the makeup and everything,
Yeah.
and you know that we also hear about their disappointments or their struggles and what they've gone through. And because I think that's also inspiring, the story
The
behind
story.
the
Absolutely, yes.
artist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
And
absolutely, yes.
yeah, so I'm very interested in that also, you know, and of course um, I've met so many wonderful artists here in Vienna. As I say, I feel
Yeah.
very privileged that I did. But now I've met you as well through Skype, through
Yeah.
Zoom. And
Yeah, well,
this is,
it's
yeah,
wonderful. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I love Zoom. It's
And
working perfectly.
yeah, and this is almost like an online window that we have. I
That's
couldn't
true.
photograph you in your window, but I
Oh,
have an
but
online window now where I can speak. So it's wonderful. But
yeah.
what a amazing story you told, and amazing things you do. And it's very inspiring to know that you've stopped and you've started again and that you've
Yes,
realized.
yes.
So you've
Yeah.
always also now had this question that many ask themselves: am I really a musician? Do I really want to do
Yes.
this? And you already
Oh,
know that. Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
If there is something that I know, yes,
Then this is this.
that's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh, this is wonderful. But thank you
Yeah.
so much for your time.
Well,
And
I say thank you for your time and for your
no,
questions,
this,
because for me this is really inspiring, and it
oh,
was
I'm
very
so
enjoyable
glad.
too.
Yeah. I will now follow. I'm going to have a look at your project as well, because you
Oh
see there's
yes,
a
yes.
website. So I
Oh yes, I'll
will,
send you.
yeah.
Yes, and I
Yes.
promised these videos. Yes,
Yes, yes,
yes,
please.
yes.
Yeah. No, it's
Between you and
we
me.
yeah, we have to, we all have to start somewhere, isn't it? Because it's and I always think it's the first, if you do the first one, it's so it's always it's important to do it, to be daring enough to do it. I just say,
Yeah, that's true.
you know,
Daring enough.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
that's the
to do it.
key. Yeah, just to
Yeah,
start. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always say, um, it's this thing where you can either go into the pool one step at a time, and the water is cold, and you know, you're thinking, oh, I can turn around now because it's too cold, or you can just jump in the cold water and start swimming, because
And
then you
start
don't have a
swimming.
choice, you know. If you
Of
start
course,
thinking
yes.
too much before the time, then, you know,
No
it's,
chance.
yeah, yeah. So I'm always
Yeah.
thinking, just jump in the water and start swimming. That's all.
Yes, yeah, that's the best. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you
wonderful,
so
eh?
much. And if you, ever you're
Thank
in
you.
Vienna, please
Yes,
write and we'll have
yes, I
some
will.
coffee. Yeah,
Oh, that will be
yeah,
wonderful. The Wiener Melange.
yeah. And a piece of, and a slice of cake. We have to do the
Oh,
cake as
yes,
well.
the
Yeah, good.
Zacher-Torte.
Yeah.
You see, I have the ambition. So, well, thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Okay. But thank you for your time and have a lovely
Thank
evening.
you.
Okay.
Yes, you
By the
too.
way,
You too.
I recorded this.
Yes, I know. No
Yeah.
problem.
Okay. And I
Yes,
might
I've seen them.
I will might take a few snippets out.
No
Is
problem.
it all right? Can I post
You
it?
have my permission, of
Thank
course.
you very much.
It's
Thank
all
you.
okay.
Okay.
No problem. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye. Bye bye. Bye
Bye.
bye. Bye.